First of all, I want to thank to Secretary of Symposium, and then I want to begin my words with the definition of the pandemic. My presentation is about what can we learn from Islamic tradition about pandemic. We must know that pandemic means is a disease which is distributed all over the world. So now COVID-19, or as the other name coronavirus, is distributed all over the world. So coronavirus is a pandemic. During the history, there are many pandemics have seen all over the world. For example, the plague, pestilence, Black Death, pest, or foul pest. The first pandemic which emerged in Europe in 6th century is the plague of Justinian, and the other is Black Death, which is emerged in Europe in 1347 with Genesis' arrival following the sea road in Italy. It has been moved to Europe. Ibn Khaldun says that 1 year later, after 1347, I lost my father because of the Black Death in 1348. This is why we transferred the word to Ibn Khaldun, because he is a Muslim sociologist, but he lived in Europe when he was a child. That means pandemic not only affects Europe, but it also affects whole the world, and also the Islamic world and Muslims. People and the scholars who are listening to me now, I think they know everything about the history of pandemic of Europe. But we have to see that there are many places and nations and religions on the earth that must ask a question about the subject. What are the nations and religions are doing about pandemic? The other nations and religions are doing about pandemic. First of all, we must say that there are many verses and hadiths about pandemic and other diseases, which are that first of all, we must look about Quran. We must look to Quran. Quranic verses about ablution. First of all, there are verses from the Quran regarding about cleaning and hygiene. One of them is the verse of Ma'idah. Let's look. The verse of Ma'idah tells us about cleanliness and hygiene. Oh, you believed, when you rise to perform prayer, wash your faces and your forearms to the elbows, and wipe your heads, and wash your feet to the ankles. And if you are in a state of janaba, then purify yourselves. And if you are ill or on a journey, one of you comes from the place of relieving himself, or you have connected, do not find water, then seek clean on earth, and wipe off over your faces and with hands with it. Allah does not intend to make it difficulty for you, but He intends to provide you and complete His favor you, and that you may be grateful. And the other version, Allah tells us takes ablution and to be cleaned before the prayer to himself. And the Muslim have to take ablution 5 times in a day. And the person who takes ablution 5 times in a day, he or she couldn't be dirty, because he or she washes the parts of his or her body 5 times in a day. He or she couldn't be dirty. Washing some parts of the body 5 times in a day gives a person spaciousness and roominess. So the spaciousness and roominess and reproof protects you from stress and viruses and also coronavirus. Second, it is very important in Quran that the things people eat in the daily life must be clean. Not only be clean, but also halal. Maida 88 is about cleanliness, what we eat. And also there are many other verses in Quran about in cleanliness. Now let's look at the Prophet's hadiths about cleanliness and quarantine. There are many hadiths which related to Islamic Prophet Muhammad about cleanliness. We can take this message below about daily cleanliness from all these hadiths. Cleanliness is the half of faith. Cleanliness is the half of faith. Allah is clean and accepts only. Ablution cleans the person in the terms of two sides. One side is material and the other is spiritual. Water is clean. Open your fast with water. Taking ablution cleans in terms of two sides. One side is material and the other is spiritual. Cleaning beautifully and going the house of Allah saves you from all sins and gives you spiritual bliss. Cleaning your teeth with miswak gives you Lord's consent. Now let's look at the hadiths about quarantine. In the history of Islam, when Majesty Omar, God bless him, was the caliph, he was going to Damascus. And it was learned there was a black death or plague disease in Damascus. Abdurrahman bin Auf said to Caliph Omar, God bless him, Prophet Muhammad said that do not enter the place where the plague is, where there is plague or black death. If plague is seen in your place, don't leave there. At that time, Abu Ubaidah said to Caliph Omar, "Oh Omar, are you running away from Allah's accident?" Saying, "Yes, I escape and beg from Allah's accident to his destiny." He gave the answer to Abu. And the second is in the below. If you hear there is a plague somewhere, do not go there. And if plague occurs at your location, do not leave. And the third hadith is on the below. Third hadith is in the below. There is a danger of being close to disease. And the fourth hadith is on the below. Do not put the sick animal to the flat, which is solid. And the fifth hadith is on the below. Escape from the leper is as if escaping from the lion. And the sixth hadith is on the below. About allegiance from the Sakif tribe coming to Medina. Leper in a delegation. He heard he was there. He said, "Come back. We accepted your allegiance. Is no has sent." As it is understood from all these hadiths, Prophet Muhammad is the only and the first person who advises quarantine and isolation against pandemic in history. Now let's look at the history of Islamic medicine, and then let's look at what the Muslim doctors accept cleanliness and quarantine in Islamic history against pandemics during the medicine history. Islamic civilization revived the classical culture that descended almost everywhere in medieval times. The reason for this success is that it can adapt existence culture and is open to all kinds of ideas. For example, more than in the 19th century, Jabir wrote the universe word, tear the secret of glaze and create living and intimate beings. At least this is theoretically possible. It is very important that we can express them at that time without being influenced by any religious official opinion. Knowledge has spread thanks to scholars who can conduct research in various languages. Thus, Islamic science gathered and the sciences in the ancient world itself, translated its works, added new information and transferred them to the West. With that triumphed on the courage and a strong sense of self while choosing the useful element. The art of medicine, which is among the primary sciences, ulum awail in Islamic culture, has developed in a short time. This movement takes place in stages. First of all, accepting period. With the encouragement of religion, the ancient culture and medicine on Islamic geography rested and adopted. Hospital medical education in Jundishapur was taken as an example. Scientific books of ancient Greek and Indian medicine were translated in Beitul Hikmah, which was established in Baghdad during the Abbasid period within 300 years. Creative period. After learning medicine information with new medical knowledge obtained through the observations and experiments, in the 12th century. In the 19th century, as the science historian Hartner put it in the idea of reliance on motivation and motivation of authorities that would endanger, thought he was abandoned, and the originality of the scientific thought reached an unprecedented point until then. In this creative period, Muslim physicians dominated of scientific medicine 600 years with their book. It has become. It is necessary to examine institutions that reveal this brand new understanding of science and medicine in more detail. Abu Ubaid al-Juzjani wrote a poem about the ancient doctors. This poem is: there was no medicine. Hippocrates found that Galenus resurrected. Blind Hunayn bin Ishaq eyes. Razi collected his mess. Ibn Sina completed his deficiencies and majored. Physicians and their works in Islamic civilization have an important place in the history of medicine. Muslim, Christian, Jewish, Magi, and ethnic Arab, Iranian, Turkish physicians who lived in a wide Islamic geography and wrote their works in Arabic and made some provisions about their nationality. It is difficult to make a definite judgment since the understanding of was dominant in the period. There are hundreds of physicians enlightening the Western and Eastern worlds with their works in the Middle Ages. Here are some Muslim physicians who studied about medicine in classical Islamic works. Ali bin Rabban el-Taberi, El-Kindi, Hunayn bin Ishaq, Abu Bekir el-Razi, el-Jazzar, Ali bin Abbas el-Magi, Ammar bin Ali, Ebul Qasim Zahravi, Avicenna. We name Ibn Sina, you name Avicenna. Ali bin Isa, Ibn Zur, Maimonides, Ibn al-Baytar, and there are many other physicians which they studied about medicine. And let's have a look, Turkish Islamic medicine. Turkish Islamic medicine in historical period separates into four periods. One period is first period of Turkish medicine is the period of Turkish medicine before the Islamic medicine. Second period of Turkish medicine, period of Turkish medicine after the Islamic medicine. The third period is Turkish medicine, is the period of Ottoman Turkish medicine. Fourth period is the modern Turkish medicine. And from now on, we will try to tell about the second period, because in this period, Turkish physicians has needed the Turkish medicine knowledge and European medicine knowledge with Islamic medicine knowledge. And they used the new medicine knowledge to build a new Turkish Islamic medicine. And also they used the new medicine, Turkish Islamic medicine knowledge in public service in the hospitals. We name them Darüşşifas. The Selçukis have built in Anatolia. Now look at these hospital names. There are many hospitals in Selçukis built in Anatolia. The Hospital of Necmettin İlgazi, the Hospital of Kayseri, Gevher Nasiben Medicine, Medical University and Hospital. Sivas İzzettin Kaykalus Hospital, Divriği Turan Melek Hospital, Konya and Aksaray Hospital, Hospital of Çankırı Cemalettin Tarru, Tokat Münihüddin Şolomon, Kastamonu Ali bin Şolomon Hospital, Amasya Ander bin Abdullah Hospital. After we explained the Turkish Islamic medicine hospitals in Anatolia in Middle Ages, now let's look at the treatment methods which are used in these hospitals. There are many classical treatment methods which Muslim physicians used in the hospitals. Of course, we cannot explain that, but we can think two of these methods are very important. What are they? One of them is using water and music in the treatment of psychological illness. The method is called water and music treatment. Each substance has its own vibration frequency. Our body also has a vibration frequency. The disease is the disruption of cellular vibration in body. For treatment, the disrupted vibration needs to be arranged. The two compatible frequencies interact with each other to form a resonance. In the physics, resonance is the event that the first vibration initiates a second vibration that is completed. In order to benefit from the healing effect of sound, body and mind, it is aimed to rearrange distorted body rhythm with the frequency of the plate from the outside to a sick body rhythm vibration is impaired, or to an organ that is vibrated. In the Selçuk and Ottoman Darüşşifas, the patients were made to listen to music which was played together with the sound of the sounds of the water was rising from the fountain, has a sprinkler around it in the middle of the yard, provided patients to relax and calm, increasing the healing effect of music. We know it is used in Her Nasibe Hospital, Darüş and Darüşşifa, and also the music and water treatment used in Edirne, the second Darüşşifa. Let's have a look. How was Europe were healing the persons who have psychological illnesses, while Turkish physicians were healing these persons with music and sound in the ages. Foucault tells about the treatment of physicians that they apply for treating psychological illnesses in Europe in the Middle Ages. Foucault tells about a table house, a ship named the Ship of Madness, people which painted by Hieronymus Bosch. Hieronymus Bosch. The table is about the madness people who are closed and externalized and marginalized to a ship, and suddenly there had been a fire in the ship, and madness people and many other disabled are died by burning in that ship. And Hieronymus Bosch painted these people, has shown how these people died in a ship by burning. And I leave the comparison to you about the treatment methods of Europe and Islamic societies for healing psychological ages. And the other treatment methods is healing pandemics by using thermae and healing hot waters, and also by using hammams. In the Middle Ages, there are many thermae and hammams in Anatolia. In the period of Turkey, Selçuk states 100 of healing hot water resources and thermae, which Homeros, Galenos, and Strabon mentioned above them, have been used for healing the pandemic illnesses, and many other new ones have been. Let's look at the name of these thermae, hot waters, and resources, and hammams. According to the one of the 19th century's writers, Omari, there were more than 300 hot springs in Anatolia where the people went to find healing various problems. The most famous of these, the thermal spring of has been built by Alaaddin Kekuku. Further from the thermal spring of Ankara Haymana and the Red Hammams. Eskişehir, the spring of Pergula, Erzurum, the spring of Ilıca, Kırşehir, the spring of Karakul, Black Wolf, Kütahya, the spring of Yoncalı, Havza, the spring of Kızözü and Aslan Ağzı, Ayaş, the spring of Karakaya. Turkish baths or hammams, which has been used by sultans and statesmen during the Selçuk period, have an important place among public health works. These hammams have like function for their societies like a public health care centers. As a result, we can say about Turkish Islamic medicine tradition, Muslim and Turkish doctors coped with overcome the pandemic's historical period with three methods. Firstly, being clean all the time and taking care of being cleanliness all the time in both terms of cleanliness and cleanliness of running versus and headed state. Secondly, applying quarantine and isolation seriously when a pandemic is in a place and as it is said in the Prophet's hadiths. And thirdly, using thermaya and hot water resources and hammams for healing pandemics like plague and leprosy. And as we have seen, there was a big difference in the comprehension of healing and treating, especially middle age between Europe and Islamic countries. Come today. Now today, this difference in comprehension, we have seen again the pandemic of virus, because Turkey is more successful than other countries, because these three healing and treatment, and also because it's different comprehension. Listening with your patients. Thanks.